scenario I'm about to put forth has probably a 0.0001% chance of playing out. But it's not absolute zero, and I like it enough that I'm going to bring it up anyway. Good morning to you. Good Wednesday morning. I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports, and this is Daily Shot of Penguins. It comes your way bright and early every weekday. If you're into football and or baseball, I also offer daily shots of Steelers and Pirates in the same place that you found this. Yoel Blomqvist is a 21-year-old goaltender who was the Penguins' second-round pick 3 years ago. And he's had some success overseas, including, notably actually, spending the past 2 seasons with Karpat of the top Finnish league. 2 seasons ago, he really began to show himself. He was a backup in that league at 1.32 goals against and a .940 save percentage. That's significant stuff, especially as an underage guy. Last season, he missed most of because of injury, 2 separate concussions, and he only played in 21 games. But here's the deal. Remember where Tristan Jarry was drafted? Meaning what round? Yeah, even though he was the Penguins' top actual pick that year, he was a second rounder. And if you're a second round goaltender, for the most part, you're expected to be very good. There aren't many goaltenders who go in the first round, and there's a reason for that. It's considered to be an unpredictable art, forecasting how a goaltender's fortunes will play out. But second round, yeah, go ahead and take the gamble. That's where Blomqvist was taken. And that's the pedigree, I'd say, that it'd be fairly attached to someone like him, especially when he advances into adult leagues overseas. Now, this year is going to be different. This year, he's coming over. Which means, depending on how seriously you take the remainder of the depth chart, and I know Kyle Dubas added every goaltender and his uncle to that, you're probably going to see Blomqvist share the net at Wilkes-Barre Scranton with either Alex Nedeljkovic or Magnus Hellberg. Probably Hellberg because, as I've told you guys several times in recent weeks, my belief is that as soon as Casey DeSmith was traded, the backup job in Pittsburgh was going to belong to Nedeljkovic, and that, of course, leaves those other 2 for the minors. Now, this is where you start throwing in the percentages. Because if you ask me, even if it's infinitesimal, the Penguins should place every priority on attempting to get the very best out of Blomqvist as soon as possible, because they could use any wild card that comes along, really at any position, when it comes to youth. Let's remember here that Matt Murray was only about a year and change older when Murray won back-to-back Stanley Cups. And few things seemed more unthinkable at the time than that some kid was going to come along and bump Marc-Andre Fleury. But he did. Some of that had to do with Flowers' injuries and so forth, but it still happened. And it made a massive difference. The more ceiling that you can inject into that position, the most important position on the ice, the stronger your overall team is. Now, this is where I arrive with some rain to dump on all of this. A, Blomqvist is coming off of not 1, but I'll repeat, 2 separate concussions. He's going to have to show that he's healthy, that he can handle the load, that he can handle physical contact, because both of those concussions came as the result of collisions. Second, and please don't bite my head off for this one, even though it's the smallest of possible sample sizes, but man, did he not impress. at the development camp scrimmage this summer. I know. It's just one game. It's 3-on-3. Nobody's defending. Nobody's trying, really, to defend. It's just an endless series of breakaways and odd man rushes and really, really high-grade scoring chances. But you're allowed to stop some of those. And the harshest criticism I think I could offer for how Blomqvist performed in that scrimmage is that he didn't stand out at all. He didn't look any different than any other goaltender there. I'm not going to lie, I was a little disappointed by that. I wanted to see, for the first time in forever, a goaltender rise up a little bit, a young goaltender. Whatever. Again, I'm not making more of it than what it is, but when you see so little of hockey prospects with your own eyeballs, you will naturally tend to overvalue what you've seen, and I'm just sharing it and trying to keep it in the right context. Blomqvist's going to have an opportunity in this coming camp. He's going to have, I think, ample opportunity because of the number of drills, the number of separate scrimmages there are. Each team gets its own goaltender and so forth. He's going to have time in NHL preseason games. And he's going to have, exactly what you should be hoping for as a young man coming from overseas and committing yourself to trying to make it into the NHL. He's going to have that. He has that in his control as much as any young player on the depth chart, including the first rounders and so forth. Braden Yeager could be a superstar in this camp. He's not making the team. Owen Pickering could be fantastic, not making this team. But if you come in as a goaltender and the person at number 2 on your depth chart is Nedeljkovic, see what I'm saying here? He's not going to be a backup in Pittsburgh. That'd be wasting him, certainly at this natal stage of his professional career. But you can build yourself up and you can start threatening number 1, which is that much more significant. When we come back, J1Q. This segment of Daily Shots brought to you by Family Table. Mom-inspired, chef-prepared meals delivered straight to your door. No prep, no mess, just reheat. That gives you more time for your family or hobbies. Go to FamilyTablePGH.com. Use the code DK40, that's DK40, for 40% off and free delivery on your first order. Order by noon Thursday for Monday delivery. Family Table, bringing families back to the dinner table. Today's J1Q comes from NES Addict in South Carolina. I have a question, DK, that I haven't heard anyone mention. Do you think the long summer will give the Penguins a more rejuvenated roster this year, or is that sort of thing overhyped? Actually, I think it's grossly underplayed when it comes to the NHL, maybe more than any other of the 4 major professional sports. And here's why. The playoffs run for so long and so deep into the summer, as you'll recall from 2016 and 2017, it felt like the Penguins were one day parading through downtown Pittsburgh, down the Boulevard of the Allies, and like the next day they were out in Cranberry practicing. That's an exaggeration, of course, but you'll recall why it was such a big deal, and rightly so, that the Penguins became the first back-to-back champions of the salary cap era. Because in any athletics, or even just regular physical training, working out, recovery is essential. You hear that term used now way more than it's ever been. You have to give the body a chance to kind of mend itself after pushing all of your muscles and sinews and cardio capacity to their extremes. It can't just go on and on and on and on. Now, you tell me, Was it a coincidence that in the 2022-23 NHL season that both Sidney Crosby and Evgeny Malkin were able to log full 82-game slates? I don't think so. They were both pretty proud of it, too, and they should have been. They sure didn't like the way the season ended. But they did both speak about playing all 82 near the end of the regular season, and they felt good about that. And I think that was doubly true in Gino's case, considering that he was coming off of getting that knee fixed, and Sid, of course, had work on the wrist done the year before, but they weren't playing now, 110 games. They weren't playing to the middle of July. And what's more, let's never, ever, ever confuse regular season games with any playoff games. One playoff round has to feel to an NHL player like 25 regular season games in terms of wear and tear. And when you're in the Metro, depending on who it is that you're facing, that might even multiply. So yeah, I would absolutely look at it as a positive. I would throw in Erik Karlsson into that mix. Sharks didn't make the playoffs. Sharks haven't been anywhere in a while of any consequence. He's going to be, and he has spoken about this, and he did too when he showed up in Pittsburgh here not that long ago, about feeling the best he's felt in a long time ever since Matt Cook did that thing, to the back of his leg. But I'm going to throw in one more, and that's Jake Guentzel. Only your team's leading goal scorer year after year. Jake had enough of this ankle situation. He was trying to get himself ready for this season up in the Beauty League in Minnesota, as he always does. It wasn't getting any better. He and the Penguins medical people made the decision, and I just could not support this any more strongly, to shut it down, get it surgically fixed, miss a handful of games. No one will perish over it. And you'll come back, theoretically, so much stronger than you would have been had you just been trying to tough it out for 6 full months. I go back to the beginning of last season. Let's see how many of you remember this. But Jake's first few games, remember that a part of the buzz for how well he'd started was that he looked faster? And I remember asking him point blank after one of those games, it was just me and him, and I go, did you do something? Did you work out with one of those power skating experts or something where they lengthen your stride or anything? And he goes, I've been strengthening. I've been getting faster. And then guess what? It was gone. It was gone. That extra step was gone. I don't know exactly when. My feel is it was around the halfway point of the schedule. And there went a big part of the offense. So yeah, my answer is a yeah. And by the way, I could still bring up, but I'm not going to, at least not today, the whole concept of resting certain players for certain games, NBA style, through the schedule. Because this head coach will never go for it, and neither will the star players. So whatever. It's at least fun as a debate point. I appreciate the question. I appreciate everybody who listens to Daily Shot of Penguins. We'll be back with another one tomorrow.